Hi, I'm Alicia. Thank you for joining us today. And before you take this journey with us, I just want to say this is a podcast, okay? This is not a therapy session. Yes, we talk about real and sometimes heavy stuff, so consider this your trigger warning. And I'm a licensed therapist, but nothing here is medical advice or a substitute for professional mental health care. Because remember, we're just like talking to comedians. Anyway, welcome to Xanyland.
Okay, how's this to start this episode off? I forgot to take my meds today, so I'm gonna take them on camera before I forget.
Can we please? I'm so excited I started it already. Here, I'm also fixing my hair, getting my hair out from
hell yeah,
over my
here. I'm just
thing.
gonna take this off the stand.
Welcome to the Xanyland podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Racine, a licensed therapist. And we're hanging out with comedians because who else is going to be honest about being crazy?
All right, I got my coffee. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm waking up. Oh, my coffee's here. My coffee's here. There's your pill. Nice.
Did your producer bring the coffee?
My hubby producer who's right there.
Hi.
I want to see if you get less funny after this med or if you were funnier before the med. When will we be able to find out?
Unfortunately, they don't function like party drugs. I wish. That would be so cool if I just I was like, I'm feeling weird. And then I had one and I was like, immediately stable. No, if you want to really see the difference, this podcast would have to be like a 2-week episode, which, down. I'm in a hypomania at the moment. So I could probably talk and stay awake for 2 weeks straight.
It does, guys. It takes at least 2 weeks for people to feel a little bit better from that. Is your med your bay forever now? Do you love your med? How do you feel it? What do you take?
Oh, I found my cocktail. I'm on 100 milligrams of Lamotrigine, down to repeat all of this too once we start officially kicking off.
Yes, we probably will.
In fact, I probably will. I have goldfish brain and I have 5 of the same things that I say on rotation, and that's my whole personality. And then 20 Prozac. So the Lamotrigine came when I was immediately diagnosed and then found my sweet spot of 100, and then the Prozac came in 2022 once I realized I had I used to pace the subway platforms waiting for it, and I used to count the steps. I used to time in between the subway every stop or whatever. I had crazy weird anxieties that I didn't realize, and then I talked to my psychiatrist and she was like, you should be on drugs. And I'm like,
yeah,
always down for that.
That's fantastic. I love when people are willing to talk about their meds, because there are just too many podcasts right now talking about how meds are bad and pharmaceuticals are bad, and everyone should just get off and face their demons with cold plunging, and I can't.
Yeah, that would be really, really a great way to just thin the herd.
Wait. I want to just ask you this one question though. So mom is from India.
So she was born in India. She moved. She came here via England. So all of her Indian heritage is pretty much gone. She can still understand some of the language, but for the most part, she's pretty whitewashed, has a British accent, all that stuff. So,
Got it.
I think that's a very common experience for a lot of mixed race people.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to navigate in entertainment because people find out agents or people find out that you're Indian and they're like, write me something about the motherland, and can you wear a bindi while you're doing it? And you're like, no. It's really weird. You're like, actually, the truth is a lot more interesting. And they're like, we're not interested.
No, they don't.
But
they want
now the DEI is out. We don't need to do that. Let's go.
That's so
I can just get down with my white self.
That's fantastic. And your dad?
My dad is white. He is so white.
Okay.
He's a little bit Greek, born and raised in San Diego.
So did mental health fuck up your life?
Did mental health fuck up my life?
Did mental illness fuck up your life?
It's so funny because this morning I had a heart to heart with my friend. We were troubleshooting some stuff. Like my best friend, very ended up being like a very great conversation. But he's like, you know, I really admire that like you always like do right by people because you did not start this life on third base mentally or emotionally. Which sounds super condescending, but in the context of our relationship, or like my roommate / other best friend is like, he spends his time with like a lot of time with like alcoholics, recovered alcoholics who've seen a lot of shit. And he's like, it's a miracle that you're alive. So it's like that, those are like the entry points to my mental health illness. And as we kind of talked in our screening, I'm like, I've spent most of my adult life and mental health journey being like, I'm fine, like self-care queen, blah blah blah. And then I talk to people and they're like, no, you have like issues. Like you said, do you want to share the term that you used during our screening call that made me crack the fuck up?
Yeah, I said high functioning SMI.
And I was like, what's SMI?
What the fuck
and
is
you
SMI?
said
Serious mental illness. It's dude.
I told that to my roommate and he started we were just like cracking up. I was like, that does not sound. What's the big book of like diagnostic, what the big mental health book? What is that called again?
The DSM. It's somewhere right behind us.
The
right?
DSM.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way that's actually in the that's like that's something that like a bitchy sorority girl coined. We're like, oh my god, no, she's fucking seriously mentally ill. Okay,
she's SMI. Yeah.
The next one is going to be LMI. She's literally mentally ill. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, that is the most like the best like clinical roast I've ever fucking heard. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's a lot of the times it's a hindrance. A lot of the times it's like a badge of honor. Where I'm like, hey man, I've been boxing with my demons up here for 18 years. Can't keep me down. Even though they'll probably win at some point.
That's a hard one. But you said that you're like on a good cocktail right now. So let's talk about your hypomania. Because first of all, you came on hypomanic. I was jealous immediately. I am so jealous of hypomania.
Oh, as you should be. It's
I know.
So fucking fun.
It is a beautiful place to be. It's like, you know, you're like, I am doing this today. I'm doing that today. I'm doing this today. I'm doing that today. And I want to be that girl.
Oh, yeah. I would say even like more satisfying than the productivity aspect, which actually can be touch and go because it's so much sometimes that you can get in your own way. You just like are running so fast that you trip over yourself. But it's more like the energy you have around people. Like last night, I was kind of making my rounds in the comedy circuit and I was just like working I was going in like, hey, baby, blah, blah, blah. And people were like, oh, yeah, come back for spots, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whoa, truly the charisma that comes with, you know, and then you face the other side of it.
When does the other side come?
Yes. So first of all, if anyone is not familiar with Gollum Schmeagol, that is like when I'm dating people, when I'm whatever, I'm like, there is a scene in the Two Towers, in the second one, where Gollum Schmeagol is having like a conversation with himself. And that is like very similar. I think we all have those two voices in us, like even if you're completely neurotypical. But that is truly like such a good example of being bipolar, where it's like, nobody likes you. And you're like, ah! Yeah.
When I said Robin Williams, I super called it. I just want to say.
I'm trying to do more voices. And more non-offensive accents. But yeah, I will. Gollum is like my signature. So I'll probably slip back into that. But yeah, so I have been tracking my cycles for the past few years. And I would say I literally can never remember. It's like the less intense bipolar, I guess. I mean, who knows? I've been hospitalized. So you tell me as a therapist.
There's bipolar 1 and there's bipolar 2.
Yeah. So I have the one that's like hypomania and not like full blast. You know, I'm up for 4 days at a time, like blah, blah, blah.
So you've never been up 4 days at a time and you've never like ended up on a street corner like screaming about Jesus.
No, I would say like going back to when does it kind of dip and when does it ebb and flow? I would say my cycles are like every 3 to 4 months. And that depends on obviously like how well I'm taking care of myself. I would say that's kind of the norm. And then it's exacerbated by how cognizant I am of my cycles, what's going on in my life, if I'm taking care of myself or not, if I'm going through, all that stuff.
Can we slow down right there? Because I think that's a
Yes.
super important teaching point for anybody that's watching. This is so important. So true, for a bipolar disorder, one of the main things is to track cycles. So I'm assuming a therapist taught you that, or did you just figure that out on your own?
I think a little bit of both. Someone
Yeah.
probably mentioned it, but I was like, or I think maybe a friend did. I used to track it more thoroughly. I should probably get back to it, but I have like a thing in my Google Calendar that's just like M and D, like mania, depression, and then like
Fucking fantastic.
I also
Okay.
know when I'm manic, it's easier for me to know that it's going to end. But when I'm depressed, as I'm sure you're very familiar with, I know it's never going to end. Like you're like, this is forever.
Yeah, it's like when you're on vacation. You're like, I know this is going to end, and that sucks, and I'm going to soak up every moment of it.
Totally. And then you have to remind yourself, like, the higher you go, the harder you fall.
Yeah.
So it's like, enjoy this, let it fuel you, but you must, no negotiation, take Friday night off.
Yeah.
You must, no negotiation, drink water. No, like,
You must know.
yeah, you have
Okay.
to be like your own strict parent.
I want to like stick in this area for a minute because again, I think for anyone listening, and then we can go back to all like the fun fucking stories and who you are when you're hypomanic.
Whatever,
and all
you
that
shepherd me.
fucking
You're doing
shit.
a great job.
But like, so tracking is a really big deal. Like when people have bipolar disorder, I love that you're in your Google calendar. This M&D. Some people use those apps. I think there's one called Dailyo, whatever.
Ooh, okay.
Dailyo, and then you're tracking that, and so it's 3 to 4 months. And during the time that you're manic, I'm assuming you also have to make sure, like you were saying, take care of yourself, that there are certain things you do to not go so high, even though it sounds so fucking seductive, so you don't fall so hard. And what are some of those things?
I would say whether I'm manic or depressed, I'm very fortunate to have like a very close group of friends. I have like an amazing supportive network, an A team. So I usually will just text a couple people or tell my roommate, be like, hey, going into a hypomania. And he's like, you didn't need to tell me. I can, but it just kind of like, like naming it out loud is super helpful because if you don't name it out loud, a lot of the times you just forget. You're like, oh, it's not like real. It's more real if you give it a label.
Yeah.
So I would say, one of the things which is so stereotypical is like mania, you spend a lot. So, or like you can just be like, so I have to, that's been prevalent in this cycle too, because I've also been like making more money from a side hustle. And I have to really, I feel this like burning, like I need this red leather jacket for $500. Like, don't worry, it's not fire hydrant red. That would be like full blown mania. It's like a burgundy red. So we're still in hypomania. But when I feel, basically as I'm getting to spend more time with this condition, my instincts are becoming sharpened. So when I feel that like euphoria, that like, oh my, like it's almost like a heightened heartbeat and like I'm so excited, then comes like danger, danger, close the tab, put the thing away. So it's almost like I'm very fortunate to be at that point where I can name it and then I have to pull back. So preventative things that I also have things like a phone coffin, like a phone lockbox. Because I know when I'm manic too, it's like all I want to do is text friends. All I want to do is have 3 cups of coffee and be a chatty little Kathy. So I have a little phone lockbox. I put it to sleep. I focus on like work stuff.
I just want to say the phone lockbox is like something we all should have. Just like get one.
It's such an actionable. You know what it does? It does the same thing as that one app where it's like 1 moment, please. It gives you like 1 second where it names the impulse. So I'll put it in the lockbox and then I'll be watching TV and I'll do like a like a paw for it, and then I'm like, whoa, and it's like in a lockbox in my desk or something.
I would prescribe this to everyone on planet Earth right now. Like, you get a phone
1,000%.
lockbox. I'm gonna buy one today. This is one of those behavioral like strategies that I think is like so fucking genius. And you're so right. Like, I'll be like, I'm not gonna watch my phone, look at my phone. I'm just gonna watch Severance. And then like as I'm watching Severance, I'm just like,
you're like, how did this happen? It's great comedian Courtney McGinnis, who might also be a great guest on this, but she's like, I'm hugely addicted to my phone, and like it's the only time I didn't know it was possible to black out sober. I'm like, that's the best description of like phone addiction. You're like, how did I get here? Or it's like, I'll go into Instagram. I have to use Instagram for comedy. I get DMs for booking, all this stuff. And so it's like, I have to go. I'm trying to work on this joke where I compare going into Instagram, like going into a pharmacy, where it's like you go in for one thing and you come out with like $70 worth of beauty supply or something. I'm like, I came in here to answer one DM, and now I'm going down like a thread of like how Brad Pitt has aged throughout the years. Like what? Or like videos of pet turtles doing card tricks. And I'm like, how? Anyway,
100%.
Mania, I would say actionable items. I would say, so, and that's with anything. That is with literally anything in life.
Yeah.
You can mean to do things, actionable items, telling my friends, squirreling money away. So being like, I'm just going to literally put this money in a different account. So when I check my regular checking account, it looks like I have less money.
I love that. And is it an account you can't like necessarily get to as easily, or is it just like that one level?
It's like it's like one level up, where it takes a while. It's like a high yield savings account.
Yes.
So
wait,
I'm like, okay, yeah.
From
It's Marcus. This is sponsored by Marcus.
Baby,
yeah, that's
call
actually
Marcus right now, because we have figured out our second sponsor. We have a sponsor.
Yes.
So you wake up in the morning and your little Google calendar at the top is saying M to you. So because you know you're in an M, you're like, okay, if I want to buy that leather coat, I need to whatever. I'm squirreling my money away. I'm texting my friends. I'm locking my phone away. What about, you said caffeine, like, are you limiting your caffeine? Like, I think caffeine is actually, no. Okay, well, I won't go on my diatribe.
I know that I've been doing a lot of like getting a lot of gold stars on this interview so far, but let me just tell you, liquids, alcohol and coffee. Yeah, it's like I live in Manhattan.
Yeah, you do.
I'm a comedian. I used to have / still sometimes have a night job. I'm a social drinker. But it's like, and I know, obviously I know it's bad for me. I know, again, it's like, this is literally like one of the first things people say with bipolar. And I'm like, I'm doing so many good things. Let's just roll the dice on this one. I love my La Colombe.
I love it. I only brought it up because I think it's like not really touched. I know that they may say it to people with bipolar, but I think it actually is a bigger fucking deal. People think that coffee is like not a fucking big deal. It's a drug. I've seen people like do so different on coffee to decaf. I know decaf is so weak sauce as you drink your coffee. I get it. And kind of actually, in all transparency, why I got so crazy about coffee is like my husband has OCD, but he has like a second diagnosis of like, they're always not sure, as ADHD, is it bipolar? There's some kind of like complicating factor.
Yeah.
You know how it's like this comorbidity, and the man can't drink coffee. Like, he is like a fucking nightmare on coffee. It's so sad.
I mean, I do know people like that where they're like, I cannot, I get like jitters. I start pacing, like blah, blah, blah. So it's like, yeah, if I were like that, I definitely
He had
would.
like
It doesn't sound fun.
No, he had an espresso with our editor yesterday and then a Diet Coke. And it was like, I am going to leave you. Where it's like, really
you just come in and he's like, it's like Toni Collette in Hereditary. He's just like on the fucking, he's like, you're like, honey, did you have, stick to matcha? Just bursts into flames.
Anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
So, okay. But it sounds like you have like some really good behavioral techniques for the mania part. And I want to go to the depression. But I'm super interested in like, do you have a therapist? Like, what do you guys work on? What's like something that's really fucking stood out that maybe isn't behavioral, that isn't like just like a strategy?
Like I've definitely had really intense good breakthroughs with different therapists, but then either like my insurance changes or it falls off or they move to a different practice, like whatever. So right now I really like the person I'm seeing. I go bi-weekly. I would say right now we're mostly dealing with navigating relationships, like family stuff. I've been really looking at the relationship between my romantic relationships and like my family and stuff. So, which I think there's a certain part of you that's like, oh, we're done now. We don't need to deal with this anymore. And then a year later, you're like, nope, it's constantly changing. It's like exploring the sea. We're constantly discovering new species, and like new weird shit. So I would say that. And then when I went through like my most recent depressive episode, I would say it was less like less talk therapy and more like crisis management. Like it was more like, okay, what are we doing? What are the steps? Like we're not going to dive into a lot of emotional shit right now because you literally have like your brain chemistry is different. Like anything that you dive into when you're depressed, you will not be able, it almost will not be productive. Because you're like, it doesn't matter. Fuck this person. Fuck me. Fuck everything. So I would say I really like my current therapist. I think she provides like some good insight. I'm always on the quest for like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. Someone's just gonna like be like, come here, son, blah, blah, blah. But
so you said like most of the time it sounds like you went through all these different therapists. They were at times that you needed them. They were more crisis sufficient. They helped you get through the time, teach you the skills. You're super action oriented, right? And all that. Right now, though, it sounds like you're actually doing more psychodynamic work, and it doesn't have to be shadow or inner child. It's just relational stuff and system stuff and maybe attachment stuff where you're working on like who you're loving now and why you're loving them and how that has to do with your parents and things like that, which I think is great. How long have you been with this lady?
I want to say like a year now, lady. Yeah, like a year. So she definitely has been able to get to know me through like multiple cycles. Like she's seen me both single, in a relationship, back to single again. I like trust that she knows my tendencies enough to like accurately read me and give me feedback and stuff.
That's great.
I'm a very big fan of whether it's like dating or emotional support. I'm a very big fan of like even pressure and a la carte. Like I like to, it's like sampler flight, like different people for different things, treating different people different way. Like I don't know. It's very
for different things. It's very compartmentalized. It kind of goes with that like type A. And there is no way to do therapy, right? Like there are people that do short-term therapy. There is crisis intervention. There are people that do very behavioral, more psychodynamic. I think that I lean towards the long relationship type therapy. That being said, I am a total fucking hypocrite because I'll have like a one therapist that I do for long-term maturational work is sort of what we call it, where you really develop a relationship over time. But she knows me so well, and we have this relationship that develops in this weird intimate third space. And then I hire therapists for short-term crisis type things.
Well, that's actually really smart. Yeah, that's a la carte.
Yeah. I do.
That's great.
I do both. I have like a la
You're
carte
in an open relationship with your therapist.
God,
it's like that's your partner, and then you have your little side pieces.
That's such a good way to put it. And it's worked really well for me. I'll have like
good
EMDR for a little while and a little bit of OCD coaching and whatever. We are not our diagnoses, but we do have to really, in the same way that you are, like you're tracking it so that you, Gracie, can like live your best life.
Yeah. And it's funny because I have gone through periods of like personifying it, and I've actually moved from fuck those guys to like let's befriend them, because that's what did I read that from fucking Eckhart Tolle or something, where it's like there's this Buddhist fable and it's like invite your demons in for tea. And that's like something where it's like I've spent so long, and I will continue to antagonize and hate myself and wish I was different. But also like at my best version, I'm like, invite him in for tea, befriend him, get to know him. This sucks, but like it's way better than having an internal adversary. But like everyone needs to do what they need to do.
No. Can you talk about that? Because it's so beautiful. I do agree that it's like first step. When I worked in eating disorders, we used to name their ed, which is what we call the eating disorders ed. And they would do these journaling conversations where they would write like the ed thought and then the reframe, like back to ed. And sometimes
very CBT.
Yeah, very
like
CBT.
Negative automatic thought, and then what's the positive reinforcement? Like what's the reality? Like how do you counter this with evidence?
100%. And so it was like a dialogue. And at first, they'd always be like, go to fucking hell. Like.
Totally. You got to get that out.
This cupcake, you dumb bitch, Donna. And then I love this, though, that like first we validate these sort of really like disorienting feelings of feeling victim to this mental health, mental illness experience for so long. But then let's move on. Like, I love this. This is such great advice. This inviting them in for tea experience, like as an actionable person, how do you do it?
Right, because if you are, and it's so funny because again, this is me at my best and most like self-loving saying this. Ask me again in 4 months where I'm just like, fuck all these people. But at my best, it's like if you are personifying them. So let's say I have me, Gracie, I have manic Gracie, I have depressed Gracie. It's like, well, depressed Gracie is suffering. It's like very similar to being sympathetic with your inner child. Like they're suffering, be gentle, blah, blah, blah. And it's also like, I do have to remind myself, and again, depressed me will be like, go fuck yourself, manic Gracie. But it's like, this is a huge part of who I am for worse and also for better. I really do have to think as much as it's hindered me, it's also like helped me with comedy. Like I've done, I think, jokes and insight about my mental health quest have like resonated with a lot of people and helped a lot of people. Or it's like, here's a huge thing too that I've said is like, because I have had really intense depressions and all this stuff, I think like I wouldn't be as empathetic of a person if I was not. So it's like in a way, or it's like mania, like I wouldn't have been like as motivated at a lot of times and like work so hard. So it's like, for as much as these demons, these other like Gracies can fuck with me, and as much as I am frustrated with them sometimes, I also like trying to practice gratitude and be like, thank you guys for, thank you, I guess, for, and it's also like, especially the depression part, which is less popular than the mania part, is there's this like intense clarity that comes after intense depression. Like I'm very calm. I am very at peace. But I was like, for me to get here this time, it took me slugging through 2 months at the end of last year. It took like fucking mental hell. So anyway, that was a long answer. I am talking forever.
No, this is really great. There's a book called Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff. Have you ever heard of that book?
I haven't. I've heard of Radical Compassion by Tara Brach. Also the author of Radical Acceptance, but yeah.
Yeah, Tara Brach's really great too. And Radical Acceptance is like a DBT term, which is sort of right. But self-compassion, I think, is one of the main things I really like to work on with people, because it does start with like, I believe that we can't actually heal from a place where any shame is involved. And if we can have compassion for these parts, all these parts of us that are just trying to survive, then it's kind of like what you're saying, inviting them in for tea and holding them in a different space and loving yourself more through each experience is a lot more helpful and a lot more productive.
I have a question for you. So one of the things that I tell myself, because it's like, yes, I've been on this mental health journey. Yes, I've gotten softer, but I also have this like highly ambitious, highly type A. I started doing boxing last year. I want to be my strongest self. I want to be a fucking warrior. So one of the things I've struggled with, and I'm so curious to get your take on this as a therapist, is like worrying that self-compassion makes me weaker, lazier, all this stuff. And it's like, I know that it doesn't. And I know I'm not a lazy person, but there is always that lurking fear of like,
wow,
one of my other favorite movies is Whiplash.
Right.
And it's so funny because it's like in the movie, if you know, listeners or viewers don't know it, it's like J.K. Simmons plays this like basically very abusive jazz teacher at this like great conservatory.
Yeah.
And there's that part in me, and he goes, one of the best quotes is, "There's no two more dangerous words in the English language than good job." And it's like, there's a part of me where I'm like, I love that poetry. Like, I love the Kill Bill scene where she's punching herself out of the coffin. I love the poetry of like perseverance and crawling through the shit in Shawshank Redemption. So it's like, how do you marry those?
Yeah, and grit and
Grit.
pulling your straps up and all of that stuff. The marrying is that. Well, I'm going to say something super basic like balance, but a lot of my clients that come to me that are so overly that way have done it to a point where like it's no longer working for them. So I love like work harder, there's no good job, like take the ego out of it, fight the fight, pull your bootstraps up, like have resilience, like don't be a fucking pussy. Like I like that too. But many of my clients have taken that so far that has just led them into self-harm. And
that's what I have experienced.
Yeah. And so somewhere within there has to be a relationship with yourself that you're doing it for a fucking good reason. If you're not fighting the fight for ultimately yourself for a good reason, then it is worthless. Then it's just fighting the fight for nothing. It's just all ego. So I think the compassion part really comes in because, and this is where maybe we're sort of getting a little bit into inner child stuff, which I don't actually do. But what I do believe is that there's this inner us that is witnessing us all the time. And that inner us knows if the behaviors that we're engaging in resonates with empowering or taking care of this inner us, or if it is abandoning this inner us and abusing and shaming this inner us, and that our relationship with how good we feel about us and the world and everything is within that relationship. So it's like you're doing comedy because it gives you a voice, it gives you power, whatever, and that inner voice grows. But if you're just starving yourself because you must be the skinniest of all your friends, which is some easy type thought. But but then you look at them when they eat candy and you're like, I'm better than you. And that becomes really a part of that sort of gritty perseverance, like overly kind of Republican vibe. I think that, that, and no shade to any normal Republican, but anyway, I mean like
shade. Yeah. Normal Republican. But yeah, I do definitely have like a Republican father voice in my head, which is like, get up, Bambi, and then I pride myself in that because that is the thing that has gotten me so many things that I fought for. And especially with comedy, there's always something to fight for, whether it's like something tangible, like I want to get this many followers, which sounds stupid, but it unfortunately does translate to so many opportunities in the real world. Or right now what I'm dealing with is pushing myself to have a more authentic, raw voice. That's always the quest for me. And it's always like, I have had a very tough family dynamic at a lot of times. I graduated with $206,000 in student loans. I wanted to climb my way up the comedy ladder. I wanted to produce a short film. I needed to do all this while having a job, while having multiple jobs, blah, blah, blah. And there's this huge pride in that. There is like this huge, like, I fucking did it. I am fucking doing it. But with every burnout, you fly less close to the sun, which is good. You fly further from the sun, which is good. But that was the price. Like I was constantly burning out. I was constantly crashing and burning.
I think that is part of the price. This actually made me think of, though, there's a type of therapy called internal family systems. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It's a kind of rad one. I don't know a ton about it. I've done like a training on it, but it actually is making me, and we won't go into it, but it does actually look at people as parts. Anyway, like regardless of the bipolar stuff, but it looks at people as parts. And it would kind of say that there is a part of you that is supposed to be super fucking gritty, ready to fucking fight, always ready to push you and to try to fly close to the sun. Like that's supposed to be a part of you. But then there also has to be a part of you that protects you. Yeah. And if those aren't integrated, we fucking suffer. So that this compassion piece really is just like integrating that part of you that knows how to put the salve on your wounds and put you to bed and be that, you know,
be your own caretaker
and self-soothe. Let's talk about, actually, I think this is really good. Can you just talk about like going to the hospital, if you can, if you will, if you don't mind, just sort of like,
no, not at all.
How we're like here celebrating your 10-year anniversary of a couple things, and then just share us some like really big important stuff, and then we can let you go do all of the other cool things you're doing today in New York.
Feed myself. That is really top of my list, is to do my laundry, drink water, feed myself. I'm going to do those things before I even start working again. So talk about action points. So I would say, it is a 10-year anniversary of a couple things. One, starting stand-up comedy. Two, is I was hospitalized for like a mixed manic episode and like a passive suicide attempts 10 years ago. So I didn't get diagnosed with bipolar until 3 years after that incident. I was like misdiagnosed with depression, which is a very common thing. I guess those are lightly related. I started stand-up comedy at the beginning of 2015, and it just felt so right. Like I'd been really denying myself this part of myself for so long. I was like, no, you just graduated design school. You're going to be practical. You're not going to like give into this like theater creative side of you. And then I did it, and I was like, I love this. And I didn't want to admit it to myself at that time, but I was like, I want to do this. I like didn't admit it to myself. I didn't admit it to my partner at the time. And then I think subconsciously that made me, I was living in Philly at the time. It made me subconsciously like apply for jobs in New York. And I was like, I did need more money. I did need a higher salary. And then like that sudden transition caused a lot of like unrest in my relationship, which we'd never had issues before. It is my roommate now. So I live with like my ex. We're very close. Like he knows me better than anyone. He has a girlfriend he's been with for 2 years, also named Grace. Let's get weird. Okay. It's so funny. It's so funny. We don't have time. But so I think like me wanting to move to New York caused some unrest, and like it had been such a stable home situation for me, and I didn't grow up in a stable home situation. So like it was all of a sudden like it brought back all of this shit that I just couldn't deal with, and I really like imploded. And I was like, it would just be like I had no or very few therapy tools at that time when I was 23. And I just like had a passive attempt. I was like, I remember not even being violent, or like, I just remember wanting to fall asleep forever. Like I was like, I just want this to end. Like I cannot be in this pain anymore. When the fuck will it end? And so I told my therapist, I was like, hey, so this happened last night. She was like, we need to send you somewhere for legal reasons. And I was like, what? And that was a rigmarole in itself. I really hated the mental health system at the time, and now I understand. It's like everyone's doing their best. We don't have the resources in this country.
And how long were you there? Because a 5150,
I was just there for
is that what it's called in New York? And 5150 is what it's called here, and it's usually like 3-day hold.
Yeah, it was like 5 days. Which was so funny. I was so, what do you mean I'm supposed to be here for 3? Nope, this was just a checkup. I didn't pack enough clothes. I was like, I think at one point I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, I have like a job. I have like a 401k. I'm not like these people, you know? And that was kind of before this heavy-handed societal thing of like mental health can affect anyone. And I'm like, but like I'm better than mental illness. Like I don't think. So they did. I like freaked out when they were like, no, we're keeping you for like 5 days. Like my 3 days was up, and then they kept me for and I was like, I started like crying and like I could feel myself throwing a scene. And the nurse was like almost on my side. She was like, do not. She was like, if you do this, they're going to keep you here longer. So it ended up being like a Stockholm syndrome thing where she was like, if you want to get out of here, you got to show that like you're better. You got to like share in group. You got to do all this stuff. So I was like, and then I got out and my boyfriend picked me up and he was like, how are you? I'm like, I'm fine. That was a great experience. And he's like, whoa.
You know what? I just want to know about your throuple lifestyle now. And honestly, like, I'm over this mental health shit now.
I mean, ask me whatever.
So
my life is so goddamn weird.
I love it. So last question, you must have gone on a medication journey, but you have a cocktail now that you like, which I think you told us earlier, which is lamotrigine.
100 milligrams of lamotrigine. And 20 of Prozac.
20 of Prozac. And that's working for you, like you're as stable as you've ever been. I love that for you. I mean, I think that's so important, and I don't love the stigma that everyone's putting on it and blah blah blah. And I think
I don't even listen. I had a self-imposed stigma and like kind of from my family stigma, which is like that was the generation. It was like if you're on drugs, you're like fucking crazy. And I'm like, well, I am crazy. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
What I really call it is like my safety net. It's like it's not a pill that fixes everything. It's obviously like you still have to do all the other work. You still have to do therapy and CBT. It's not like you take a magical pill and all your problems are fixed. But what it does do is it stops things from getting bad to like terrible and life-threatening.
And I think that's when I say SMI that we laughed about earlier is like that's what we're talking about, is that it's life-threatening. It's a life-threatening thing, and it's a medical issue, and we take a med to keep it so that it's no longer a life-threatening issue, and then you're at the place now where you can, do the work. That's it.
It's a little, exactly. It takes I don't want to say it takes the edge off because that sounds like I'm like a working mom who drinks a bottle of rosé a night, but it's like it really does. It's like training wheels in a way, or like the better thing is like it's like if you're going down like a windy mountain in a car, it's guardrails. I don't know why we all know what guardrails are. I don't know why I had to like paint the picture of like driving.
It's guardrails. It's like the bumpers for the kids at the bowling alley.
Totally.
You still have to work on your technique and blah, blah. Anyway, so I want to know about your throuple lifestyle. I want to know, which we can totally cut this all out, and then we'll like close up and talk about what you're doing for comedy. I want to know about your OnlyFans, and I want to just know, like, what's your lifestyle in New York? Make me jealous. I'm already like so smitten. So let's just like, tell me who you are.
I love that we're ending with like, tell me a bit about yourself. Like we already talked about like the most like traumatic mental health thing. Like what do you eat for lunch? Like love it working backwards.
Like who are you?
Yeah. I would say like it's been a really, and will continue to be constantly troubleshooting, but like I do lead an unconventional life. Like, I mean, I have a day job that anchors me. But it's like I live with my ex-boyfriend who's like one of my best friends. I have tried my hand at traditional relationships. I don't know what's going to work for me, but those don't seem to work for me. I would say like a lot of my friends are partnered up, but like I don't feel odd out because all of my friends who have partnered up, their partners then become my friends. So it's like welcomed into the family. So that's, I would say, like my biggest pride is like I have all of these pictures of like my framed pictures of my friends and stuff. I would say my biggest pride and like anchor are my people here. As far as like my lifestyle in general, I mean, I have done New York in a very like comedy has also been like a huge anchor. So making friends, like spending my 20s hopping around from open mics. Even last night I went out and I was like kind of feeling low and I just went to hang out in comedy spaces, bumped into friends, ended up booking a spot, blah blah blah. And then I also like have had a nightlife of I have worked as a dancer. I still do sometimes. That was part of my like, how am I going to pay off these loans and also pursue comedy? Bartending and a full-time job isn't cutting it. Freelance isn't cutting it. I got to do something drastic. So Yes, I am a comedian slash stripper slash new to this filmmaker slash illustrator and designer. And you can imagine it's a lot of balls. It's a lot of like, I'm kind of known as the person who like never stops in my friend group. Like I'm like a hamster on a wheel. Yeah. And I have given up a lot of things. But yeah, I will say like, I'm trying to restart the gratitude journal and I have to be like, okay, you have a very full life. Like it can get dicey sometimes. It can be up and down, but it's like, I wouldn't say like my cup runneth to over. I would say like, you know.
But it sounds like that's also.
I have a sugar daddy who's been taking me around to like.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like a non-sexual sugar daddy who literally just like takes me out to all these nice restaurants and all this stuff, and that's been like a new part of New York for me. So it's a weird fucking life.
Did you get that through the app Sugar Daddy?
No, I got it through. I work at a club.
From the strip
I've
club?
danced. Yeah, I've danced on and off at these underground lap dance parties since 2018. We met. It was like my first situation of this kind. He's become like a friend. Like truly great. So it's like I have a very weird fucking life, but
you have a very
people get weirder.
New York life though in a lot of ways. Like I just feel, I mean, even when I lived in New York, I got like pulled into working. I was a cocktail waitress at a strip club, but like you just get pulled in. I mean, it's so easy for a friend to be like, "Oh, you have to pay that medical bill." Like, let's work at this like strip club and like on like in like you know Times Square, and
yeah, and I get why people don't want to live here. It's insane.
It's insane.
But I'm like, in a way, I'm like, it's an outlet for all my insanity. Like if I were living in LA,
yeah.
I think I would be more insane because I'd be creating my own insanity. Whereas this, I'm constantly like balancing and like fighting the insanity.
I do like the vibe here. Like a lot of the time it just feels so isolating and so like at home here, which is just, it doesn't feel like is your vibe. It feels like you're like, I got to get out of the house. I need to be at a comedy club.
I'm from Thousand Oaks. So I spent a lot of time growing up in LA. And yeah, I'm always out. Even when I try to do less, I'm just like not a homebody. Like I am like
not a homebody. Yeah. Tell me about your boxing life. She's making me want to move to New York, babe, like real bad.
Yeah. I mean, you could box in LA, even though it's more of like a solid core situation. Yeah. So I'd always wanted to box. So I'm big into like I said, I have like a warrior mentality. It's my Aries moon. Okay. My dad's an astrologer, so we don't have time.
Is your dad actually an astrologer?
He's a screenwriter and does astrology on the. It's really fun. I have like one of his big books, like astrology, and he's been trying to teach me for a while. But
does he do charts? Like, should I hire him?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He would love. Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Like I think, and he's great because he's like a thespian, so he gives you like the whole story. He goes, you're that, you're that, blah blah blah. Like it's a very fun experience. I had him. I hosted Thanksgiving 2 years ago in my little apartment with my dad and like 3 of my friends. And while I was cooking, he was like doing everyone's charts. It was really funny. But I would say, so the boxing thing, I love learning new skills, whether it's like Spanish or boxing, or like a few years ago, I took up archery, which I really love and made me feel like a badass. So this boxing place is right next to my work. And it's awesome. And it's like, I've never been a person who's like addicted to exercise, but it channels like every warrior thing in me. And it's also like the reason I like exercise is it's an exact and very fast analogy. It's a very direct analogy to mental fortitude. You're like, I can do this. And we all know that like your mind gives up before your body. Or is that there? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, we all know this thing that I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it really is like dig fucking deep. Like the first few classes, I had to stop. I almost like threw up. And now not only can I make it through these classes, but after I'm like, I could go on a run. Yeah, it's been like a great addition to my life.
It's a great one.
And I want to spar by the end of this year.
Oh, I love it. Are you touring? Are you having a show we should know about? You're having anything come out?
Yes, I would love to plug things.
Should we follow
I would love to
you?
plug some things.
Yeah, please go for it.
I'm Save Gracie Canaan on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, Twitter. I don't give a shit about. And then if you're interested, delve into the OnlyFans, guys. Like, link in my bio. Not going to say anything more about it, but I enjoy it. And then I do have some things coming up. I don't know when it's going to be available to the public, but my short film Booties, which is a short comedy about dancing. So I star in it, blah, blah, blah. But that will be showing at different festivals this year. We're very excited.
I can't wait to see that. And you design furniture for places that we could buy.
Oh,
right?
I used to design more furniture and furnishings for like West Elm and Anthropology. And then I have since pivoted to more graphic design and illustration. So I currently design for, they're like, we don't want to be associated with you. Don't mention this. For like Real Simple, Martha Stewart, Southern Living. It's very wholesome. So I get to spend my days drawing like yoga poses and food and dogs, and it's like my favorite day job. It's the best day job I've ever had. Yeah. I know that as a comedian, I'm supposed to like want to be full-time comedian, but I'm like,
It sounds like you're one of those people that can handle being a full-time comedian and full-time designer. You're a badass, Gracie. What the fuck?
I don't know about that. I'm just like, I'm fucking
I see
tired.
like a TV
I'm tired and
show.
I need to drink more water.
I see a TV show about your life.
Well, that's our goal with the short film is proof of concept, leveraging it into something. But, you know, I'll let you know in 8 years. That's usually the speed that TV runs at.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
LA will be burned to a crisp and New York will be underwater.
Oh, yeah, we'll be old hags by then. It's gonna be too late. So
yeah, I know. I'm so excited. I know, right? I'm like trying, but like a mid-30s woman in fucking entertainment. I'm like, and scene.
Thank you for listening to us today. We know that you could have spent this time with a true crime podcast, but you care about mental health too, and that's balance. And we appreciate you. Go ahead and subscribe, please, and give us 5 stars. And if you didn't like it, like most of my family, just lie. Remember, this wasn't medical advice, but an irreverent conversation about mental health. New episodes drop every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and everywhere else that we could manage to upload it. And hey, if you liked today's comedian, look them up and follow them. They are brave and they're talented. And if you have friends, good for you. That's a good sign. Now please go tell them about us.